Students, welcome to Sunil's tutorial. I'm Sunil Milwani and today we're doing this chapter called as projectile motion. First of all, let us understand what do we mean by projectile. Right? Now, contrary to what we believe, when a body is thrown vertically, suppose here's where the person is standing. If a body is thrown vertically, it takes an oblique path. When a body is thrown vertically, it takes certain oblique path, right? Now it makes some angle with the horizontal, and this angle that it makes with the horizontal is called as projectile. So what is projectile? An object thrown in space in a direction making some angle with the horizontal is called projectile. Right? Now that we know what is projectile, let us find out, let's do the derivation for various types of projectile. First, let us do derivation for a horizontal projectile. Right? Let us assume that the body is at O, right? And it is thrown. This is the direction in which the body moves, right? Let us assume a point P where the body has covered some distance in horizontal direction and some distance in vertical direction, right? Let's assume that the total height that the body has to cover is h. It has covered point P, has covered a distance of x with respect to horizontal and y with respect to vertical, and the body is moving along x-axis with a velocity of v. Let's write all this down. Consider a body thrown in horizontal direction. Consider a body thrown in horizontal direction from a point O. Right? Let v be the velocity of projection of the body. Let v be the velocity of projection. That's the velocity with which the body is thrown. Right? Now consider x-axis along horizontal and y-axis perpendicular to that. The only force acting on the projectile is due to gravity in the vertical downward direction. Hence, the horizontal motion of the projectile is going to be a uniform motion. There are two forces. I am throwing the body in horizontal direction. Guys, I am not actually throwing the body down. I am trying to throw the body in horizontal direction. Once I release the body, there are going to be two forces acting on the body. One, I am throwing it in horizontal direction, so there is going to be a horizontal force acting on the body. Once I release the body, the gravitational force will also act on the body, that will try to pull the body down. So there are two forces acting on the body, one in the horizontal direction, one in the vertical direction. Do you understand this? Now, the one which is in horizontal direction is going to be a uniform motion, because I'm going to throw it with a velocity and then it's going to move with that same velocity. I can say therefore, the motion of the particle in horizontal direction is that of a uniform motion along a straight line. Motion of particle in the horizontal direction is that of uniform motion, along a straight line. Right? In that case, I can say that the distance covered by it, distance is nothing but velocity into time. So at point P, the distance x is going to be velocity into time. Now, the vertical motion of the body is controlled by the gravitational forces, right? Let us assume that let Vy0 be the initial velocity of the projectile in vertically downward direction. Initial velocity of projectile in vertically downward direction. Right? In that case, since the body is still in my hand, before I release the body, I can say Vy0 initially is going to be 0. Right? Now, as y-axis is taken vertically downward direction, the downward direction will be regarded as positive direction. Therefore, I can say that acceleration along y-axis is going to be positive g. I'm taking vertical downward direction to be the positive direction. Now, I can use kinematical equation here for vertical motion. We have kinematical equation h is equal to ut plus half gt square. That's my kinematical equation we've learned. So h is yt. The distance covered by the body along y-axis in time t is, let us assume that let yt be equal to y. Distance covered by the body in y-axis in time t be equal to y. We have already said that Vy0, initial velocity is 0 and acceleration along y-axis is g. Now if I convert this can be written as yt is equal to Vy0 into t plus half gy t square. Same equation, height I am writing as yt. Distance covered along y-axis in time t. Initial velocity I am writing as Vy0, g I am writing as gravitation along y-axis. So I can therefore say that yt is, we have assumed as y, is 0 into t plus half. Acceleration along y-axis is nothing but g t square. So y is equal to half gt square. Right? Now from equation 1, that's my, from equation x is equal to vt, I can say that t is equal to x upon v. If I substitute this value in equation of y, then I can say that if I substitute this, I can say that y is equal to half g. Instead of t, I can write x upon v the whole square. So I can therefore say that y is equal to g square upon 2v square into x square. Let us assume that g square upon 2v square is equal to k. G is gravitational constant, v is the uniform horizontal velocity. So in that case I can say that y is equal to kx square. But y is equal to kx square represents equation of parabola. Hence, I can say that when a body is thrown horizontally, it moves in a parabolic path. Hence, when a body is thrown horizontally, it moves in a parabolic path. Fine, do we get this thing here? So thus, it shows that projectile motion follows a parabola. Fine. A horizontal projectile follows a parabola. Next, let's see. Parabola is this curved path. This kind of a curved path is called as parabolic path. Right? Next. Let us see what is the resultant velocity. Resultant velocity of a horizontal projectile. Right? Same thing. Let's consider a horizontal projectile at point O. Let's consider that the body is at point O. It is projected in the direction of x-axis with a velocity of v. Gravitational force will act on it, and hence it is going to move in a parabolic path. Right? Let us consider a point P here. Right? At point P, since it is moving in a particular direction, it is going to have some velocity. Velocity is a vector quantity. Let us assume that at point P the velocity is v vector. Since it is a vector, it can be resolved into two components, one along horizontal, one along vertical. We have learned this in scalars and vectors. So it can be resolved along horizontal and it can be resolved along vertical, right? Which is going to be called as Vx and Vy. So any velocity can be resolved into two directions, one along horizontal, one along vertical. Let us assume that the velocity makes an angle of alpha with horizontal, right? Let's write this much down first. This is your y-axis. You say consider a body. Consider a body projected horizontally from point O. Your body is projected from point O with velocity v. With velocity v. Okay. In that case, I can say that consider a situation when the projectile is at point P. Consider a situation when the projectile is at point P. Right? Now, let's assume that v is the velocity of the projectile at point P. V is velocity of projectile at point P. Right? If I resolve this, I can say that Vx is the horizontal component of this. Vx be the horizontal component of the velocity. Horizontal component of velocity at P. And Vy be the vertical component of velocity. Right? In that case, I can say that the horizontal component Vx will be equal to v, because that was the velocity with which the projectile was thrown. Now, for vertical motion, I can say that I can use my kinematical equation v is equal to u plus at, where I can say that Vy0, initial velocity along y-axis is 0 at t is equal to 0. Initial velocity at y-axis is 0 at time t is equal to 0. I can also say that acceleration along y-axis is g, and velocity at y-axis at time t will be vyt. I can write this equation in projectile form, where I can say Vy t is equal to Vy0 plus Ayt. Final velocity is equal to initial velocity plus acceleration into time. Substitute the values. So I can therefore say that Vyt is Vy is gt. Right? Now, if I use parallelogram law of vector, I'll get velocity is nothing but square root of Vx square plus Vy square plus twice Vx Vy cos theta. That's my parallelogram law of vector. What is the angle between Vx and Vy? Obviously, the angle between Vx and Vy is going to be 90 degree, right? cos of 90 is 0, therefore I can say that velocity is square root of Vx square plus Vy square, right? Vx we said is nothing but, we leave it as it is. This is Vx square plus Vy we found out as gt, so this is nothing but g square t square. So the velocity at point P is going to be nothing but square root of Vx square plus g square t square, right? Now since alpha is the angle made with respect to horizontal, I can say that since alpha is angle with respect to horizontal, then I can say that tan alpha, guys, see this, tan is going to be opposite. I could take Vy on this side, so in that case tan will be nothing but Vy upon Vx, but Vy we found out as gt, so I can say that tan alpha is nothing but gt upon Vx, therefore I can say alpha is tan inverse of gt upon Vx. So that is the direction in which the body will be moving. So a projectile, the velocity at any given point and the angle at which it will move can be found out by using this derivation. Right? Now, let us consider an oblique projectile. Let's consider an oblique projectile, right? Now, how does an oblique projectile look like? You will have it starting from origin, x-axis, y-axis, body moves in this direction, right? Let's assume that a body is projected vertically upwards with a velocity of v at an angle of theta. Since it is projected vertically upwards with a velocity of v at an angle of theta, it can be resolved into two components, one along horizontal and one along vertical. Let us assume that the horizontal component is Vx and the vertical component is Vy, right? Let's assume that the maximum height attained by the oblique projectile is h and the maximum distance attained by the projectile is, say, r, horizontal distance. Okay, now let's write all this down first. Consider a particle projected with velocity v at an angle of theta with horizontal, right? In that case, resolving v into two components, you get resolving v into two components, you will get that Vx is equal to V cos theta and Vy will be equal to V sin theta, right? The horizontal and vertical components. It can be seen that the motion, when the body is projected vertically upwards, there are two motions on it. One is the horizontal component and one is the vertical component. Now the horizontal component is due to V cos theta, right? And I can therefore say that, let us assume that x is the distance covered by the projectile in time t. Let x be the horizontal distance covered by the body in time t, right? Then we can say that distance is velocity into time. So distance is velocity along x-axis into time. Distance along x-axis is going to be velocity along x-axis into time. But velocity along x-axis is nothing but v cos theta into t. So x is going to be equal to v cos theta into t. Thus I can say t is x upon v cos theta. Let's call this as equation 1 and leave it here. Now velocity along y-axis is going to be due to gravitational force. Gravitational force acts vertically downwards and I'm pushing the body upwards. That means acceleration along y-axis is going to be negative. I can say acceleration due to gravity. Acceleration due to gravity acts in vertically downward direction. Vertically downward direction, right? And therefore I can say that AY is going to be minus G, right? Now let's assume that y is the vertical distance covered by the projectile in time t. Let y be the vertical distance covered by projectile in time t. That's the vertical distance that it is going to cover. Then I can say that initial velocity along y-axis is going to be v sin theta, because the body is being thrown vertically upwards. Initial velocity in y-axis we have said is v sin theta. Acceleration along y-axis is minus g, and distance covered along y-axis in time t is vy. I can use kinematical equation. I can say h is equal to ut plus half gt square. If I convert this into from kinematical into projectile form, I'll get yt should be equal to yt should be equal to vy0 into t plus half gt square. G is ayt square. Now distance covered along y-axis in time t is say y, which we have said initially, is going to be equal to nothing but initial velocity along y-axis is v sin theta into t plus half into minus g into t square. Therefore I can say y is equal to v sin theta minus half gt square. But substitute t from equation 1. If I substitute the value of t from equation 1, in equation 1 we had said that t is equal to x upon v cos theta. So in that case I will get y is equal to v sin theta minus half g. T can be written as again, y is equal to v sin theta into t. T is x upon v cos theta minus half gt square, x upon v cos theta the whole square. H is equal to ut plus half gt square. I'm still using the same formula. V and V gets cancelled, so I'll get y is equal to x tan theta sin theta upon cos theta minus half g x square upon v square cos square theta. Right? Now I can say that the above equation is in the form y is equal to bx minus cx square, where I can say that b is tan theta and c, where I can say that b is tan theta and c is g upon 2 v square cos square theta. Right? If this is true, in that case this represents the equation of parabola, right? Which represents equation of parabola. Thus I can say an oblique projectile moves in a parabolic path. Thus, an oblique projectile moves in a parabolic path. Right? Do we get this thing here? Now that we know that it moves in the parabolic path, let us find out the horizontal range of an oblique projectile. Horizontal range. Now let us assume horizontal range. What do you understand by horizontal range? Horizontal range is the total distance of the projectile from its point of projection to the point where the projection comes back in the plane of projection. That means from the point it is released to coming back onto the ground. So how do I define horizontal range? Definition: it is the total distance covered of the projectile. This is the total distance of the projectile from its point of projection to the point where the projection or where the projectile comes back to the same plane of projection. Same plane of projection. Simple language, guys. Look at this diagram. This horizontal distance is called as horizontal range. From the point it is released to the point it touches back the ground. Right? That is called as horizontal range. Right? Now, for horizontal range, guys, if you look at this diagram, it was released at this point, it is coming back to this point. What is the vertical distance between these 2 points? Guys, what is the vertical distance between point A and point B? 0. Vertical distance. Horizontal distance is R. Vertical distance. What is the vertical distance between these 2 points? The vertical distance between these 2 points is 0. So I can say for horizontal range, we know that the vertical distance that the projectile is going to cover is going to be 0, and the horizontal distance that it is going to cover is R. Right? Substitute these values in the equation, but equation of oblique projectile. We had found out what is the equation of oblique projectile, which was y is equal to x tan theta minus gx square upon 2v square cos square theta. Substitute the value of y as 0 and x as r. So this will become r tan theta minus g r square upon 2v square cos square theta. Take this on the other side, so I'll get gr square upon 2v square cos square theta is nothing but r tan theta. Tan theta can be written as sin theta upon cos theta. Right? Square and r gets cancelled. Square and cos theta gets cancelled. Right? So in that case, I will get r is 2v square sin theta cos theta upon g. Cross multiply. 2v square cos theta goes up, g comes down in the denominator. So I can say r is v square 2 sin theta cos theta upon g. But by using multiple submultiple angle formula of trigonometry, 2 sin theta cos theta is nothing but sin 2 theta. So I'll get r is v square g. 2 sin theta cos theta can be written as sin 2 theta. I'm using multiple formula. Multiple formula of trigonometry says that 2 sin theta cos theta is nothing but sin 2 theta. Thus, the maximum horizontal range is v squared sin 2 theta upon g. V is constant, g is constant. That means how much horizontal distance a projectile will cover will depend upon the angle at which the projectile is thrown. This particular technique is used when you have to fire missiles. You know the exact location, you know the horizontal range, you know the velocity with which you are firing the projectile, you know g. Just change the angle and it will hit the target. This is where this is used in missile technology, right? Determine the angle, just leave the projectile at that angle and it will go and hit that target at that point. Right? Do you get this? Okay. So do we understand this? Now, that means we see that the velocity and gravitation remaining constant, it is theta that will determine the value of range. Now suppose let us assume I want the missile to go maximum range. I want missile to cover a maximum distance. I want R to be equal to R max. What is the maximum distance that my missile can cover? So I can say that V and G being constant, maximum distance can be covered with the help of sin 2 theta. Now sin 2 theta can have a maximum and minimum value of -1 and 1. Sin 2 theta can have a maximum and minimum value of 1 and -1, right? In that case, I can say that which is possible only when 2 theta is, I can say therefore if sin 2 theta is 1, I will get R is equal to R max, but we know that sin 90 is equal to 1. Therefore, for maximum distance, 2 theta should be equal to 90 degree and theta should be equal to 45 degree. So if I project a missile at 45 degrees, it will cover maximum distance. Right? Do you understand this? So if you want the body to cover maximum distance, it should be projected at 45 degrees. In cricket, if you want it is never the power that will get you the 6. It is the angle at which you hit the ball. If you can hit the ball at 45 degrees, even a small power will take the ball for 6. Do you understand this? Maximum horizontal range can be covered if the body is projected at 45 degrees. Fine, do you get this in here? Next, let us see the time for which the projectile is going to be in air. Time of flight. Let us try to find out the time of flight, right? Now if I want to find out the time of flight, what do you mean by time of flight? Time of flight is the total time taken by the projectile to cover the entire trajectory and return back to the original plane. Simple language, guys. Let's look at this diagram. What is time of flight? Once I release the projectile from here, how much time will it take to go from here and come back to the same position here? How much time will it take to leave from here and come back to this position, right, in the same plane? That is called as time of flight. So time of flight is the total time taken by the projectile to transverse its entire trajectory, that means the path, trajectory and return to its original plane. Of projection. Right? Now, for time of flight, I know that the body has to return back to the original plane of projection. That means time of flight is possible when the body touches back the ground. If I am releasing it from ground, that means x will be equal to r, and let us assume for time of flight t is equal to t. Right? Now we had already said that x is equal to v cos theta into t. We had already said, guys, see this, in oblique projectile, we had said that x is equal to v cos theta into t. If I substitute the values here, I get r is equal to v cos theta into t, right? R is equal to v cos theta into t. Therefore, I can say that t is equal to r upon v cos theta, right? Now, but we had found out that the range of a projectile is given by the formula v square upon g upon sine into sine 2 theta, right? Substitute this value of r in the equation of t. Substitute r in equation of t. So I'll get time of light is nothing but v square by g sine 2 theta upon v cos theta, right? So therefore I can say t is equal to v and square gets cancelled, that is v upon g sine 2 theta. I can split it up again to write as 2 sine theta cos theta upon cos theta. Cos theta gets cancelled, so I will get t is equal to 2v upon g sine theta. So time of flight is going to be nothing but 2v upon g sine theta. That is the time for which the missile is going to be in air before it touches the target. Fine, do you get this thing here? So do we understand the equation for time of flight? Now let us find out what is the maximum height that will be covered by the projectile. Maximum height. Let's try to find out maximum height covered by the projectile. Now, from kinematical equation, we know that final velocity along v is nothing but initial velocity along y-axis plus acceleration into time. V is equal to u plus at. Now we know that for an oblique projectile, Vy0 is nothing but v sine theta, right? And acceleration along y-axis is minus g. Therefore, I can say, and also at highest point, velocity will be equal to 0, and the body is projected vertically upwards. At highest point, the velocity will be equal to 0, that is after time t when the body reaches the highest point. If I substitute these values, I can therefore say that 0 is equal to v sine theta minus gt. Therefore, I can say that we call this time as t1. We call the time for the body to go up as t1. Therefore, I can say that gt1 is v sine theta, right? In which case I can say t1 is nothing but v sine theta upon g. That is the time taken by the body to go up, right? Let us assume that h is the maximum height covered by the body, right? Now, h is the maximum height. I can again use kinematical equation. I can say that h, that means the distance covered along y-axis. Kinematical equation is h is equal to ut plus half at square. So initial velocity along y-axis into t plus half acceleration along y-axis into t square. I can say, but we know that distance covered along y-axis is h, right? Initial velocity along y-axis is nothing but v sine theta, and acceleration along y-axis is minus g, and time t is equal to t1, that is your time of ascent, that is the time taken by the body to go up, right? Also I can say that, now let's substitute this here. I can say h is equal to v sine theta into t1 minus half g t1 square. But I know that t1 we just found out is nothing but v sine theta upon G. Substitute the value of T1 here. So I'll get H is equal to V sin theta into V sin theta upon G minus half V sin theta upon G the whole square, right? In which case I can say H is equal to V square sin square theta upon G minus V square sin square theta upon 2G, right? There should have been a G here. I'll just write this again. This is going to be minus G V square sin square theta upon 2G square. So G and square gets cancelled here. Now here I will take V square sin square theta common. If I take V square sin square theta common, I will get H is equal to V square sin square theta upon G common. In which case you will have 1 remaining from here and you will have 1 upon 2 remaining from here. 1 minus 1 upon 2 is nothing but 1 upon 2, right? 1 minus 1 upon 2 is nothing but 1 upon 2. So I can therefore say H is equal to V square sin square theta upon G into 1 upon 2. The height covered by the projectile is V square sin square theta upon 2G. That is the height that will be covered by the projectile, right? Now, so I now know the maximum height that will be covered by the projectile, right? Let's find out the relationship between horizontal range and maximum height. Relation between R and H, right? Now, R is nothing but V square we had found this as R is equal to V square upon V square sin 2 theta upon G. Therefore I can say for R max theta is going to be equal to 45 degree. Therefore I can say R max is V square upon G, because in that case if theta is 45 degrees, sin 2 theta will be sin 90 and sin 90 is 1. Similarly, we have said that H is equal to V square sin square theta upon 2G for H max. If I want to find out the maximum height, we know that the maximum value of sin theta is 1, for which theta is going to be 90 degree. For H max, if I take theta is 90 degree, I'll get H is equal to V square upon 2G, right? Therefore, I can say that this is your H max. So I can therefore say H max is 1 upon 2 into V square by G, but V square by G is R max. Therefore, I can say H max is half R max. The maximum vertical height that can be covered is half the maximum horizontal distance that can be covered. Fine, do we get this thing clear? Right. We'll stop this here for the day. Thank you very much.